It started like any other swipe, a quick glance at a photo, a skim of the bio, a rightward flick of the thumb that felt casual and meaningless. I was lonely, I won't pretend I wasn't. The nights in my apartment had gotten long and quiet, the kind of quiet that makes you reach for your phone just to hear the hum of connection. I'd been on the dating apps for months. Cycling through conversations that never went anywhere, through first dates that fizzled into awkward goodbyes. I wasn't expecting anything real. And then I matched with Emma. Her profile was understated. A few photos of her hiking, a candid shot of her laughing at a coffee shop, a bio that said she loved rainy days and old books. She seemed normal, grounded, the kind of person who might actually want something genuine. We started chatting, and the conversation flowed easily. She asked about my day, my job, my favorite movies. She laughed at my jokes, responded quickly, and made me feel like I was the only person she was talking to. I fell into it without thinking. The way you fall into a river, slowly at first, then all at once. We talked for days, and I started to look forward to her messages, the little buzz of my phone that meant she'd responded. She asked about my childhood, about where I grew up, and I told her without hesitation. I told her about the house on Maple Street, about the old oak tree in the backyard, about the golden retriever I'd had as a kid named Charlie. She seemed genuinely interested, asking follow-up questions, remembering the details I'd shared. I was charmed. I was falling for her. We agreed to meet for coffee on Saturday, and I spent the whole week looking forward to it. But the night before our date, I got a message from her that made my stomach drop. She said, "I bet you still miss Charlie. He was a good dog." I stared at the screen, my heart pounding. I'd never told her my dog's name. I'd never mentioned Charlie at all. I asked her how she knew that, and she just sent back a smiley face followed by a single line that made my blood run cold. "I know everything about you." I tried to rationalize it. I told myself she'd seen it on an old social media post, that it was a coincidence, that I was overreacting. But the messages kept coming. She knew where I'd grown up. She knew the street I lived on. She knew where I worked, what my boss's name was, what I'd had for breakfast that morning. She sent me a picture of my own living room, taken from outside my window. I could see my couch, my TV, the book I'd left on the coffee table. I could see myself, a blurry figure in the background, sitting at my desk. She was watching me. She had been watching me for days. I blocked her account immediately, but the messages didn't stop. They came from different numbers, different profiles. Always the same message. "I know everything about you. I'm watching you. You can't hide from me." I called the police, but they said there was nothing they could do. She hadn't made any direct threats, and they couldn't trace the numbers. I was on my own. I moved to a different city. I changed my phone number, deleted all my social media, and stopped using any apps that could be traced back to me. I told myself I was being paranoid, that I'd let my fear get the better of me. But the messages kept coming, always to my new number, always from different accounts. She knew I'd moved. She knew my new address, my new job, the coffee shop I went to every morning. She sent me pictures of my own apartment, taken from across the street. She was still there. She was always there. I started to lose sleep, to lose weight, to lose my grip on reality. I started checking every window, every lock, every shadow. I started carrying a knife in my pocket. I started to wonder if I was losing my mind. And then one night, I got a message that made me freeze. It was a video of me, sleeping in my own bed. The camera was right next to my face, so close I could see the rise and fall of my own chest. The message said, "I'm still watching. I haven't been on a dating app since. I've moved 3 more times. I've changed my name." But sometimes late at night, when the house is quiet and I'm just drifting off, I get a message from an unknown number. "I'm still here," it says. "I'm still watching." And I know, with a certainty that chills me to the bone, that she's still out there, still waiting, still looking for me. And I don't know if I'll ever be able to escape her. I was lonely. I won't pretend I wasn't. The divorce had been final for over a year, and the silence in my apartment had become a constant companion, a presence that filled every empty room. My friends kept telling me to get back out there, to try the apps, to remind myself what it felt like to be wanted. I resisted at first, told myself I wasn't ready, but eventually the loneliness won. I downloaded a dating app. I created a profile with a few photos I'd taken on a hike and started swiping. It felt strange at first, like I was shopping for something I wasn't sure I wanted to buy. But then I matched with Mark. His profile was simple. A few pictures of him hiking and smiling, a bio that said he loved good food and bad jokes. He messaged me within minutes, something playful and charming that made me smile. We talked for hours that first night. And the conversation flowed like we'd known each other for years. He was funny and witty, always knowing exactly what to say to make me laugh. He listened when I talked, remembered the little things I told him, and made me feel like I was the only person in the world. By the time we agreed to meet for dinner, I was giddy with excitement. The restaurant was a cozy Italian place downtown. The kind with red checkered tablecloths and candles and old wine bottles. He was there when I arrived, already seated, and he stood to greet me with a smile that made my heart skip. He was even more handsome in person, with warm eyes and an easy confidence that put me at ease immediately. The conversation was effortless, just like it had been online. We talked about everything, our jobs, our families, our hopes for the future. He made me feel seen, I heard, understood. But as the night went on, I started to notice something strange. He kept asking the same questions, over and over, like he was testing me. He asked about my family, about where I grew up, about my fears and my dreams. I answered as best I could, but the repetition was unsettling. The way he'd circle back to the same topics, looking for a specific answer I wasn't sure I was giving. I chalked it up to nerves, to excitement, to the wine. When I got home that night, I found a message from him. "You were perfect," it said. "I knew you were the one." I smiled, told myself it was sweet, and went to bed. The next day, he showed up at my workplace. He was standing outside waiting for me, a bouquet of roses in his hand. I was shocked, a little flattered, but mostly confused. I'd never told him where I worked. I asked him how he'd found me, and he just smiled and said, "I wanted to surprise you." I thanked him for the flowers and told him I had to get back to work. He nodded, but there was something in his eyes that made me uneasy. Over the next few weeks, he started showing up everywhere. At my gym, at my grocery store, at my favorite coffee shop. He was always there, always watching, always smiling. I told him he was being too intense, that I needed space. He apologized. I promised to back off, but he never stopped. He'd find new places, new ways to be near me. I changed my locks, got a restraining order, but he always found a way to get around it. He'd wait outside my apartment, just far enough away that the police couldn't do anything. He'd send me messages from different numbers, always with the same theme. "I'm not giving up on us. We're meant to be together. You're the one." I stopped going out. I stopped answering my phone, stopped living my life. I was a prisoner in my own home, afraid to leave, afraid of what he might do. I tried to talk to my friends, but they didn't understand. They thought he was just a guy with a crush, that I was overreacting. They didn't see what I saw, the obsession in his eyes, the way he'd stare at me like I was something he owned. I moved across the country. I changed my name, changed my number, deleted all my social media. I told myself I was finally free, that I'd left him behind. For a while, I believed it. But sometimes when I'm out in a crowd, I feel a familiar prickle on the back of my neck, the sensation of being watched. I turn, and I see him. A flash of his face in the crowd, there and gone before I can be sure. I tell myself it's my imagination, that I'm being paranoid, that he can't have followed me this far. But deep down, I know the truth. He's still out there. He's still looking for me. And I don't know if I'll ever be able to escape him. I was in a bad place when I downloaded the app. My girlfriend had left me 6 months before, and I'd been drifting ever since, floating through days that felt the same, nights that stretched into empty hours. My friend said I needed to get back out there, that I was too young to give up on love, that the right person was just a swipe away. I laughed at the cliche, but I downloaded the app anyway, more out of boredom than hope. I started swiping, and I matched with a girl named Sarah. Her profile was perfect. She loved the same obscure bands I did, the same movies, the same books. She was funny in her messages, sharp and witty. And she made me feel like I wasn't alone. We talked for weeks, hours every night, and I started to fall for her. She was everything I'd ever wanted, and I couldn't believe she was real. But when I asked to meet in person, she always had an excuse. She was busy with work, she was sick, she had to visit her family. I told myself she was just nervous, that she'd come around eventually. But the excuses kept coming, and my suspicion began to grow. I started digging. It started small, a reverse image search of her profile picture. The results came back almost immediately. The photo was stolen from a model's Instagram. I felt my stomach drop. I searched further. I found the model's name, her real name. She died 3 years ago in a car accident. I stared at the screen, my hands shaking, unable to process what I was seeing. I'd been talking to a ghost or something worse. I confronted the girl I'd been talking to, demanded an explanation. The messages stopped. I thought it was over, that I'd scared her off, that I could move on and forget it ever happened. But a week later, I got a message from a new account. "You shouldn't have looked," it said. "Now I have to find you." I felt the blood drain from my face. I blocked the account, but the messages kept coming. Different names, different profiles, but always the same message. "I'm watching you. I see you. You can't hide." I deleted the app, threw away my phone, changed my number. I moved to a new state, started a new life. I told myself I'd left it all behind. But sometimes, late at night, I get a notification from an unknown number. I never open them. I just delete them and try to forget. But I can't forget. I can't forget the messages, the feeling of being watched. I can't forget that whatever was on the other side of that screen is still out there. It's still waiting. It's still looking for me. I don't know what it wants or why it chose me. I only know that it's real and it's not going away. I've started to see things, shadows in the corner of my eye, movement where there shouldn't be any. I've started to hear whispers, soft and low, always just out of reach. I'm afraid to sleep, afraid to be alone. Afraid to look at my phone. I don't know how much longer I can keep running. I don't know if there's anywhere left to go. All I know is that it's still out there, and it's still looking for me.